Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 25th of May, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at the dollar index. A bit more green on the screen this morning, but markets had a tough time yesterday. Looking at the dollar index, we're still falling away there. This is the weekly, daily, and 60-minute chart. If we're above the cloud, we're bullish. If we're below, we're bearish. So this is my long-term, medium-term, and short-term view of what's going on. So dollar is recovering off the bottom. That means that the euro is just starting to roll off the top. Looks like this relief rally in the euro might be short-lived. The longer and medium-term trends are still bearish, of course. Sterling sitting at 125, again just struggling there. And if we look at sterling against the euro, still relatively weak at 117, having trended up. It's just started to roll off the top there, so the sterling just looking weaker there, and political woes not helping in the UK. Bitcoin stuck below the $30,000 mark, did make 18-month lows the week before last, so looking a bit worrying there, and downside targets much lower, so and the big upside targets are removed off the charts. So cryptocurrencies not looking great as a result. The S&P 500 index did recover a little bit in the close yesterday, but we are still very much in downtrends here with downside targets. So quite worrying the level at which we're seeing these targets on the chart for the markets, and even worse, so some 16% lower, and even worse for the Nasdaq, where we've got 20% downside targets. So again, 20% both on the half and 1% charts, so really worrying there. The futures are flat today, so hard to call which way the market will open. The VIX volatility is still sitting pretty high around the 30 level, the fear index, so that's not great. And if we look at markets in Europe, the FTSE future is up 0.4%, the DAX in Germany up 0.25%. So just really markets a bit quiet, waiting for the US to open. Asia was fairly flat as well. Looking at China, we recovered some of the falls from the day before. We were down quite significantly, but we've recovered, taking us back into sort of bullish territory short term. The Sensex was down 0.5%, having bucked the trend the previous day, and the Aussie market up 0.3%. We'll look at the energy mix in a minute. Wheat falling back 2.7%, so quite a fallback there. Still looking very bullish on the medium and long-term charts, but interestingly, we're just seeing that reversal there. Gold down 0.5%, so just struggling to really get motoring. Found support at 1800, bounced on long-term cloud support, and we do have these big upside targets, but just remember gold is last in the cycle. US 10-year yields falling right back as well at 2.74%. That's giving us a downside target to 2.4% on the yields, but of course this sets us up for another upside thrust target to 4.1% if we break higher, and that will only be unwound if we fall through 2.7%. So that's going to be quite interesting to see whether we do unwind that target. Tech majors were pretty heavily hit, and in fact I've got this chart quite interesting just looking at the long-term trends here: Apple, Amazon and Microsoft. And we're seeing that Amazon really has fallen off a cliff. Apple and Microsoft have fared better, but the reality is these trends are breaking, and you can of course hit the T key to look at the downside targets on all of those on your systems. Looking at the energy mix, got some interesting targets coming in this morning. Quite interesting that we had targets for TTF, so this is Dutch gas. We had upside targets at 8.16. I'm on delayed data here, and then at 8.45 a new downside target. So quite interesting how we're seeing that seesaw. We still are quite bearish just for gas prices for today, which was out in our report, which you can look up, of course, in the Energy Daily, and you can see the trends and commentary there, which is where we talked about gas. But coming back to the alerts, we have got this down target. German power actually a new upside target to 233 euros, so that's looking quite good on the baseload contract. That kicked in at 8.46, and the TTF target again, we got a new upside target, so just pushing higher with those three targets. So the picture is changing a little bit there for gas, and on US nat gas, interestingly, we've got a new downside target to $8.50. So we've just got to watch those targets kick in through the trading day. Of course, there's many more targets to watch on your systems. Taking a look at the charts themselves, Brent crude up 1% this morning, just nudging this 115 level. That's what we need to break. US nat gas falling back to 880. We talked about that, but if we can break 890, then we push higher, and we've got some pretty big targets there. And looking at the 0.1% hourly chart, some much higher targets. Of course, we break this $9 level, then that's new highs, so that's significant. RBOB gasoline, of course, has been a lead indicator. Distillates leading crude. We're back into bullish territory here. The target's not so clear this morning, but keep an eye out. That coal did pull back yesterday, but we are really looking quite explosive on this breakout. We've got targets on the other charts there. Keep an eye on that. Emissions we commented on yesterday fell back below the 80 level. Then we had a relief rally. There were quite a lot of alerts there, and if we look at gas, we've just said that's starting to improve a little bit with upside targets, but we are still below the clouds, so we only expect these to be short-lived. And if we look at German power, quite a trend to the upside there, so really interesting how we're just finding that support. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.